Welcome to the blind SQL injection attacks. Similar to the other SQL injection attacks, blind SQL injection attacks is also the powerful as others like inbound and union-based or other error-based SQL injection. But SQL injection with a blind option takes longer time for an attacker or a penetration tester to be exploited. Blind SQL injection is also called inferential SQL injection. What happens in this kind of attack is no data is actually transferred via the web application and the attacker would not be able to see the results of an attack. This is why it is called blind, because no any data is transferred from server to the web application and represented to the attacker or web application penetration tester. We will see that attack in action and how lengthy this kind of attack is, and also at the same time it will be a more hectic process to go to find even a username or the database name, or if you want to find the database version, database user, table names, it will be a long process and hectic too. Blind SQL injection is completely a guess. You just have to guess the single word, and if it is not returning any error messages or any unusual information, then your guess is correct. So what are the bases on which the blind SQL injection is attacked? The first one is Boolean based, that matches for true and false conditions. And the second one is time based. Time based blind SQL injection is especially for Microsoft SQL databases. So in this case we are going to attack MySQL database. So the attack will be the first one, that is Boolean based. We will make a statement. If it is true, then it will not result any error messages and our guess will be successful. If it results false conditions, then it will result with error messages and we will move to guess another words. So let's see for some example here before going to attack. In MySQL databases, substring is a function that extracts data from the string, and this will be the beneficial in this kind of attack. And a structure for the substring function is substring user. If you are going to guess a user, and this is the position, and the second one is the length. So at first let's see an example here. If you are going to guess the user that have name Camel inside the database, what we will guess here? We need to guess from A to Z if it is only the word. If there will also have some numbers, then the process will go to more longer than usual. So in this case the user is Camel. So how the guess will be performed? This is the user and the first A will be tried here. So this will result with false and there will be error messages, or simply say it will say user does not exist. The second option is same length, because the first word of Camel starts with C. So the condition will be true at the point of C when we will make a guess. So once it comes to the C word, it will be the true. In the blind SQL injection, we will use this string, that is substring user and the position length value, and we will make an attack here. So let's start. This is the same website that have the SQL injection vulnerabilities. If you are unsure, we can check by using or entering some SQL related queries or inputs, in this case the single quotes, and it is throwing some warnings. Okay, now let's start with the blind SQL injection. At first we will check for the SQL injection vulnerabilities and username. If you have not gone through the first or inbound SQL injection lessons, it is recommended to go there first and watch that lesson. So for this demonstration purpose, I am going to be sure what is the user name of the database. So I am using the union based SQL injection trick here, and let's see what is the username of the database. As we know, the ID value must be unusual in order to run our commands or crafted payloads. So in this case we know the database is bricks. Okay, now I just copy it and paste here. Okay, now I will perform blind based. So let's see how it is performed and how hectic it is. So I will start with service string. And if I want to find the same username of the database, I will use this pair and the position will be 1. I am going to find the first word of this database. So this is the B. And let's see what happens one by one. Length will be also 1 because it is of 1 digit, equals, and I will start with first letter, that is A, because if I am an attacker or a penetration tester, I don't know what is the username of the database. Okay, now let's see what happens here. As you can clearly see, it says the user does not exist. But what happens if it reaches to the B letter, that is the first user of this database, and the letters start with the B. Let's type with the B. In this case, you will not see any success message here. That this is the reason why it is called blind SQL injection. There is nothing to prove that it is succeeded or not. We have to continue till all the letters. So the next word is R in the user. What happens if I put here C? User does not exist. We need to check each letter one by one. And when it comes to R, because we already know what is the name of the user in this database. So now the second word is R. So at this point we have to change the length and the position. If you go for the 2 words, then the length will be 2, and if it is of 1 letter, then the length will be 1, but the position is 2 because R is after B, so the position will be 2. And here the R, and yes, this have also not shown any errors, so we are sure that the second letter is R. Now coming to the third letters. Third letter is I, as we know, but we have to try one by one from A to Z. A, B, then C, and we will continue till I. So as I know, the letter is I and the position is 3. This time you can see there is no any error messages, so this shows that the information we want to fetch from the database is true at this time. This is called true false statements. By this way we can collect all the names and details from the databases, but this is really a too hectic process and takes too much time. So while going to the penetration testing of web applications or even performing bug bounty to your end, you will never want to perform blind SQL injection because this is so hectic. This is also dangerous equally to other SQL injection attacks. So this is how the basics and blind SQL injection is performed. You can take this lesson as a task. Just simply collect all the details like user of the database, version of this database, and a database name by using blind SQL injection attacks on this page. This is the content 1 page of OWASP bricks. So you can be here and fetch all those information. By using this trick, you can be more fluent, and it will also help you to other SQL injection attacks, because this will make you familiar with commands of the databases and how it is making a query to the database server. So just take this lesson as a task for you and start attacking blind SQL injection. Welcome to the client-side security controls and security bypass. In this lesson, we are going to bypass some client-side security coded security mechanisms that will restrict you to do not perform some tasks of your desires. Let me tell you some examples. Like this is the text box in which you need to type the text, or if you type the number, or it will be let you type, but it will check for if it is the text or not, like submitting. But in this case this is the number and text also accepting, but in this case it is accepting number and text as well. Now coming to the read-only text, this is the read-only text in which you will type something, it will not let you type, and if you delete it, it will not also let you do so. So in this case what we can do is simply bypass the client-side security controls that has been made using JavaScript or HTML tags. So let's see one by one to bypass. Actually this is the from Muchly Day, and actually this is really a valuable and good resource to practice how it works in the real world applications. Like suppose if you are going to apply for a new credit card from your bank, and most of the banks allows only for more than 18 years of age limits, so you must be more than 18 years, otherwise it will not let you select the age that is less than 18 years. So in that case what you can do is, if the security or restrictions or the access control is made at client side or restricted at client side using some JavaScript or HTML tags, we can easily bypass. Okay, so let's start. This is read only. I will make it, so I will simply right click that and inspect element. It is the Firefox extension. Let's do inspect element. You can also do some search here that really blocks the user inputs or do not let you do or perform some desired actions. So in this case you can see the page property and the coding series, that is the maximum length 15 and size is also 15. In this case we will search for the value that is restricting us to input. Okay, this is the main that restrict me to make it to read only, so I will delete this tag entirely and make hit enter. Now let's type, yeah, now you can type here anything of my choice. Okay, now coming to the short text box. So we can increase the short text box. You have already seen in cross-site scripting lesson. So you can see the maximum length and the size. Here at this time I will delete this option and I will make it more to 50 and size will be 50 as well. So you can clearly see the size has been increased at this time. Now move to the other. Okay, the next option is the disable text box. This is really frustrating sometimes because it is disabled with some fixed text. It will not let you to change some words or some numbers. In this case we can also make it variable according to our choice. Here you can see this is disabled and the background color is also different. Even I can make the background colors and this is completely white, but still it is disabled. I will delete this tag that is disabled and the security will be removed and the restriction will be removed. Now I can type here. Okay, now coming to the next JavaScript that is secured by the JavaScript. Let's see what is inside. Actually it will not let you type something at this box. So it is made by the JavaScript Validations. Let's see what kind of JavaScript validations are there. So this is the onFocus event that will simply blur that, and coming to the required maximum length. Okay, here this is the same. There's the tricky text box. I will simply delete all these entirely. And let's see if it allows me to type or not. It is still disabled. Okay, let me delete this event. Okay, now it's done. So sometimes it will not let you allow to do or something. The restrictions are made by different codings or some validations by the JavaScript. So this kind of text box, I don't think it will be shown to you, and this is also the similar kind. Now coming to the checkbox, that is really disabled and it will not allow you to select. In this case, we can also perform the same actions. This is the tag that is disabled and the value is 1. I will delete all these and let's see, it is enabled right now. Same thing you can do for this one, and this is the number 1. Okay, now coming to the range that allows to select from 1 to limited range. This can be also tricked to perform simply. I will make it, if you want to change the maximum number, I will change to 10 and the minimum will be 5. In some cases you can see there are numbers that is starting from 1, 2 or 3 or even 10. It will not let you allow to change below predefined number. So in this case we can change for that. And if I will change to text, it will be text and it will be maximum to 10. By this method we can bypass that. Now coming to the real world security and the validations performed by the Facebook. In this case I am selecting this and the password. I will type the password that is something I will not disclose it to you, so obviously. Now I will inspect element and perform some actions here, like changing the type to password. If it is a password, I will change to text and it will display the password I have entered, in this case the gray head. And if I will change this email value to password, it will be shown like a password. So let me change the type here, that is email. So I will change to password. Now you can see the email is not displayed. So from security points you can make this secure, like someone is making pseudo surfing attacks over your pseudos. So you can make this so that no one can even see the passwords or even the email IDs. Okay, some validations are made using JavaScript or HTML tags before being stopped at the restrictions by the website or the web applications. Simply try to see and try to watch the actions that the web application is performing. Don't stop at that point. Simply right click, inspect element and check for if it is validating through the JavaScript or HTML. If the client side or access control is entirely client side, from my experience, most of the time you will see that the client side controls are made by client side scripting like JavaScript and HTML. So in that case we can bypass, because everything that is from the client side, it is in our hand. We can control that entirely. If it is made by the JavaScript, we can simply disable the JavaScript inside our browser and the JavaScript function will not work, so the restrictions will also be bypassed at the same time. So these are the controls. Next time you go for the real web applications, try for that to bypass the client side access controls.
Hello and welcome. Being a pen tester, you must possess and approach both methods, going through a vulnerability scanner to find the vulnerabilities and navigating each URL one by one. Because sometimes you will find that vulnerability scanner will not be able to find the vulnerability. Here I have come up with a similar example, that is the Tiki vulnerability. Tiki is a content management system, CMS, that is a web applications. So manually navigating Tiki web page reveals that this had the version 1.9.5 and the vulnerability that was found for the Tiki was in the version of 1.9.8. So at that case, the vulnerability scanners will not be able to find the vulnerability because they find vulnerability with the version numbers published over the internet. This is the reason you must approach both methods, going through a vulnerability scanner and manual assessments as well. So the Tiki web applications have the version 1.9.5. So let's fire up a Metasploit and search for the vulnerability. Simply type the search and the Tiki Wiki. You can also perform a simple search on the exploit DB and the bug track. Here you can see there are more exploits for the Tiki Wiki, and all those are excellent exploits. Let's take an exploit and see the information about the exploits. So at this point I will use exploits. Exploits have been loaded. Now we need to set the target host, that is our host. In my case it is 192.168.64 and 130. That is running on that web page, that is OWASP vulnerable web applications. Now we need to type the local host. Lhost is in the same network, that is 131 at last. Now type show options to see another requirements. Here you can see everything is set and the proxies are not required. If you want, you can set for the proxy. I will use payloads. So using a payloads, type show payloads. It will show all the compatible payloads with a specific exploits. I will use my favorite one, that is interpreter reversal. And luckily this is the best part, that this exploit have a interpreter payloads with the PHP options, so that it will be supporting and executing all the commands. Set payloads and the payload name. Now the payload is set. Now there is another options. If you want to check for the vulnerability is exploitable or not, you can check with a command, that is check. Metasploit will check if the target is vulnerable and exploitable or not. As you can see, the target appears to be vulnerable. Now we need to type exploit to exploit the target to get a interpreter session. Great, the exploitation was successful. At this point, we have successfully exploited the Tiki Wiki web applications, and here is the proof. That is, the database username is the Tiki Wiki and the password is also Tiki Wiki with the default credentials. A point here is to note that this exploit was for the Tiki Wiki version 1.9.8, but the target was 1.9.5. It means that we can attack all the targets version earlier to publication of the vulnerability date. Now we have a interpreter session. Now we can execute everything. Simply type help and it will show all the commands that we can execute on the target system, in this case the target web applications. So what I will do here is simply get a shell prompt. It will throw a shell prompt from the target. Process has been created. Now let me type who am I. Here you can clearly see it is the www data directory of the web applications. Now here the ping command will also work. We can do almost everything that the interpreter supports, like killing a process, getting a process lists, and getting a user ID, typing sysinfo. Here you can see the system information is operating system is OWASP running on the Ubuntu based Linux with the time and date. Now it's time to get a process list. Simply type ps. It will show all the processes that are running on the target system, target web applications. All these are the processes running on the target sites. Now here you can do an interesting thing, as this is the part of the post exploitation module, but here I am showing you one interesting thing, that we can upload anything to the target web applications and execute from the internet. Like simply what I will get is files to upload on the target server. I am going to upload a web page, that is of my web page, and it will be accessible on the target site. Now the web page has been saved with the index.html format. Here you can see this is the index.html. Now I will upload this file to that server with the upload command of the interpreter session. Go back from here, typing exit, type the command upload and the name that I am going to upload. Let me first move to that window and type the index.html. To see, this is not working at this time because I have not uploaded yet. After uploading, you can clearly see this has been uploaded. Now I will move to window space and let's type it. Great. You can see the file has been uploaded to the target system on the web applications, and now it is accessible from there. Similarly, we can upload a PHP shell to get access at any time, even after the interpreter session has been closed. This is the type of attack that I am going to attack at the penetration testing. Simply find a version of the services, even if it is not vulnerable or vulnerable. It doesn't matter. Simply search for the vulnerability name with the version number on the Google search, bug track, exploit DB. If you find any exploits, you can exploit with the help of Metasploit or by going through a manual exploitations, and that's it. It doesn't take too much time. I will cover more things about meta-interpretation and post-exploitation, what we can do after the exploitation has been completed and we have attacked the target system on the Windows system and on the web applications as well. So this was the exploitation of the web applications. We have successfully get a meta-interpreter session. We can do and play with all the meta-interpreter commands. I recommend you to play with all these commands after the exploitation has been completed. That comes in the post-exploitation, and learn from there what you can do after the system has been exploited or a web application has been exploited. Thank you.
Welcome to the client-side security controls and security bypass. In this lesson, we are going to bypass some client-side security coded security mechanisms that will restrict you to do not perform some tasks of your desires. Let me tell you some examples. Like this is the text box in which you need to type the text, or if you type the number, or it will be let you type, but it will check for if it is the text or not, like submitting. But in this case, this is the number and text also accepting, but in this case it is accepting number and text as well. Now coming to the read-only text, this is the read-only text in which you will type something. It will not let you type, and if you delete it, it will not also let you do so. So in this case, what we can do is simply bypass the client-side security controls that has been made using JavaScript or HTML tags. So let's see one by one to bypass. Actually, this is from Muchly Day, and actually this is really a valuable and good resource to practice how it works in the real world applications. Like suppose if you are going to apply for a new credit card from your bank, and most of the banks allows only for more than 18 years of age limits, so you must be more than 18 years, otherwise it will not let you select the age that is less than 18 years. So in that case, what you can do is, if the security or restrictions or the access control is made at client side or restricted at client side using some JavaScript or HTML tags, we can easily bypass. Okay, so let's start. This is read only. I will make it. So I will simply right click that and inspect element. It is the Firefox extension. Let's do inspect element. You can also do some search here that really blocks the user inputs or do not let you do or perform some desired actions. So in this case, you can see the page property and the coding series, that is the maximum length 15 and size is also 15. In this case, we will search for the value that is restricting us to input. Okay, this is the main that restrict me to make it to read only. So I will delete this tag entirely and hit enter. Now let's type. Yeah. Now you can type here anything of my choice.